Genies are fairly well known in modern Western culture. Thanks to the Disney adaptations of the story Aladdin, most of us have some basic ideas about them too. They're super powerful beings, they can be trapped in bottles or lamps, and they grant wishes to their masters. Like with most things, though, the House of Mouse has sanded down many of the rough edges of its source material, and its portrayal of genies is no different. While Robin Williams and Will Smith did a great job of entertaining and delighting generations of kids with their wacky antics and anachronistic characters, Andrej Sapkowski decided to take the Witcher series genies in a much more complex, chaotic, and even sinister direction that is a little more faithful to their roots in Middle Eastern folklore. Today we're going to talk about one subset of genies, known as Djinn, and how an encounter with one made a lasting impact on our favorite Witcher in the books, games, and TV series alike. Just as with my other Monsters Explained videos, I'll break down my examination into two parts. Lore, where I break down the physical description, source, and in-universe examples of the creature, and Beyond the Lore, where I provide an examination of the out-of-universe aspects of the creature, such as themes, fan perception, their importance in the narrative, and real-world mythological parallels. As stated earlier, Djinn are a type of genie, which are magical beings that exist on alternate planes of existence that are completely separate from our own material plane. Each type of genie hails from its own plane, which correspond to the elements. Ifrit come from the plane of fire, Marid come from the plane of water, Dao come from the plane of earth, and Djinn come from the plane of air. As you might expect, each type of genie has a special power over and affinity to its corresponding element. Although their magical abilities are not limited to element-specific powers, certain especially difficult tasks, such as creating a firestorm, moving a mountain, or calling forth a tidal wave, would probably require the correct type of genie to accomplish. A particularly powerful sorcerer, with the correct spell prepared, may be able to pull a genie into our plane and capture it within some sort of magically sealed vessel. But the genie will fight against this, doing as much direct and collateral damage as possible in order to maintain its freedom and return home. If successful though, the sorcerer will be able to command the genie to fulfill 3 of their wishes, using magic that is far more powerful than the sorcerer's own. The priest Krep explains this concept a bit in the story The Last Wish. A genie like this, Mayor, is a living reservoir of magical energy. A sorcerer who has a genie at their beck and call can direct that energy in the form of spells. They don't have to draw the force from nature, the genie does it for them. The power of such an enchanter is enormous, close to omnipotence. That being said, genies are not docile and obedient creatures. Even after being captured, a genie is likely to lash out, especially against those who are not its current master. Jaskier, or Dandelion as he's known in the books and games, found this out the hard way when he attempted to command the genie and was attacked by it instead. He was choked by the Djinn, which appropriately used its power over air to restrict the bard's breathing. The TV show reframes this attack as the Djinn granting Geralt's wish for peace, but whether it was a fully independent act like in the books, or an intentionally malicious twisting of Geralt's words as in the show, the situation still demonstrates the unruliness of Djinn. Over the course of the same story, The Last Wish, many of our characters erroneously believe that Jaskier is the Djinn's master, which leads to the biggest mistake of all when Yennefer attempts to capture it after forcing Jaskier to make his last wish. This is a problem because the Djinn is actually still bound to Geralt, which makes it nearly impossible for another sorcerer to assume control. The resulting struggle endangers the lives of everyone in the area, as the Djinn's attempts to escape cause major damage to the buildings nearby. In the books, this tension is intensified by the fact that the Djinn is struggling in the middle of a city, and the mayor and city council look on in horror as chimneys and rooftops are being knocked down and torn apart. Luckily, Geralt is able to use his last wish to bind his fate to Yen's, and somehow save both of their lives as the house they are in blows up. The exact wording and content of the wish is still unknown, and speculation on it could take up a video all of its own, so let me know if you'd like me to do a deeper dive on it. After granting Geralt's wish, the Djinn is able to escape without further incident, seemingly happy to be free and no longer upset or destructive. As Geralt himself says about it, "When did you last feel happy when you felt trapped?" Djinn are intelligent creatures, and can technically be reasoned with instead of enslaved. The Witcher 3 presents a story that is a little too spoilery to go into for the context of this video, but it basically ends with a Djinn making a deal with someone instead of continuing to fight or be captured. It takes quite a bit of effort to even get the Djinn to this point though, so I wouldn't recommend this method. The Witcher's Djinn are a clear adaptation of the Djinn or Jinni of Islamic and pre-Islamic folklore. Created from smokeless fire, Djinn are magical creatures that are normally invisible to the human eye, though they exist alongside us. They can take human-like form to appear to us, but can also take the shape of animals or appear as shadows. Like humans, Djinn have the free will to do either good or evil, must eat and drink, can die, have children, and even form societies, sometimes with different religions. Djinn are also associated with wind in traditional folklore. Outside of a few specific stories, Djinn are not the enslaved wish granters we see them as these days, but are a separate group of intelligent life that exist alongside of humans, who are made of clay, angels, who are made of light, and shaitan, who are demonic spirits. Certain varieties of Djinn are more closely associated with shaitan, or could even be types of shaitan depending on who you ask. Ifrit are said to be either wicked Djinn or demonic in nature, and are associated with the underworld as well as with fire, just like their Witcher versions. Marid are another type of wicked and powerful Djinn, who are very mischievous and rebellious, but they do not share the water element association with their Witcher counterparts. This makes sense, because Djinn are said to be made of smokeless fire, and that would probably not mix well with water. One of the most famous wicked Djinn is Iblis, who refused to bow to Adam, the first man, believing he was superior since he was made of fire rather than clay. He was punished and cast down into hell for his arrogance, and his offspring became Shaitan. This is similar to the Christian tale of Lucifer, who was originally an angel before refusing to bow to Adam and being cast out of heaven, and becoming the devil. Djinn are, to this day, said to be the cause of many afflictions of humans, such as sandstorms, diseases, mental illnesses, and possession. It is said that they can be summoned and commanded by sorcerers and soothsayers, but this practice is largely frowned upon and looked at as witchcraft. The Djinn has made a great impact on The Witcher's mainline story, and on fans as well. The name of the Djinn's story, The Last Wish, is also the name of the first short story collection, demonstrating its importance to the narrative. The Djinn's granting of Geralt's last wish is what bound Yennefer and Geralt together, for better or for worse, and without that bond, much of the story wouldn't work the way it does. Fans are generally positive about the inclusion of the Djinn in the story, as it shows a complicated and interesting version of the stereotypical wish granters in popular media. The nature of the Djinn is also very much in line with other intelligent creatures in the Witcher universe, namely that it would prefer to be left to its own devices and not cause trouble, but the meddling of humans can cause it to become violent and to protect itself and its way of life. Geralt's solution to the Djinn situation also reinforces many of his most positive aspects, such as his love for Yennefer, his desire to save intelligent beings, and his underrated intelligence and quick thinking that allowed him to make the right wish. So if you ever find yourself to be the master of a Djinn, make sure to follow Geralt's example and use your wishes wisely. Or maybe a little wiser, unless you really want to see someone burst. And that wraps up my breakdown of the Djinn. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a like and subscribe for more content. If I missed something, or if you would like to suggest other explanations for the future, please leave it in the comments below. This is the Laughing Storm, and I hope to see you next time.